This is Dr. Greg Campbell, and welcome to Tooth Talk Thursday, Episode 3. I'm so happy that many of you joined us last week and the week before. We've had unbelievable response from this, from not only our patients, but from the Long Beach and surrounding communities. So I thank you for that. And I wanted to have today be no exception. I wanted to just kind of build on what we were talking about last time and kind of answer any questions that you might have as this goes on. We try to keep these around 10 minutes or 15, depending on what the questions are. Last time I didn't get to all the questions, so I did write them down, and I want to try to address those first. But here we are, the last week of April, and actually next to the last week of April, and I've lost track of days. I've been keeping in contact with the team, and one of the things the team has been doing is we've been working on making the office better. Thanks for joining. Hey, if you could type in where you're listening from. Eric, I think you're in France, if I remember right, and Lindsay, I'm so glad you joined me. So if you take a moment, just type in where you're from, and just want to say hi to all of you. So one of the things the team has been working on is being more organized and how we can better serve you, our community, the patients, and going forward and making things just as wonderful as we always have. The one thing our office has always been known for is great service, and that's not going to change. We want to make that even, we want to enhance that if we can. So I'm looking forward to that. So one of the first things that that I wanted to address that I didn't get to last time was somebody wrote, "Why do I have bad breath?" I mean, we get this question not every day, but we get it quite a bit. And so, Lindsay, you're in from El Segundo. That's great. Eric, where are you listening from? You want to do that for a moment? So when the patients ask us, or somebody in the community, I could be at a meeting in the community, and somebody says, "You know, Dr. Campbell, why do I have bad breath?" And there could be a number of reasons for that, and I just want to go over those and make sure that I cover this for you. First of all, there's many things that could be causing this, and it could be a combination of things. And one that we see quite often is a person hasn't been to the dentist in a long time. They don't have regular checkups. They're not having regular cleanings. So we have stuff building up on the teeth, the plaque, the tartar, and it just creates the halitosis, which is another term for bad breath. And so regular cleanings can help minimize that, but there's other things that can affect this as well. The food you eat has an effect on causing bad breath, which is, a lot of people wouldn't even put that together. Your diet and how you approach that food. And there's another factor, genetics. And so a lot of times if we try and deal with the dental part of this, because the mouth is the gateway to the rest of the body as far as health, if we can't seem to resolve the bad breath, what we do dentally, then we actually combine and work alongside the physicians to see if there's something systemic going on, which can happen. But it's always nice to have the combination of starting with your dental office to help you to be healthier. And so that's what we're going to work on there. So I have another question, was just asked, why have my teeth been so sensitive lately? Man, a lot of us have been having really sensitive teeth lately. And a couple of reasons is some of us are so stressed or having anxiety that we're clenching our teeth. And so that's really difficult because you wake up in the morning, your jaw's tired, you got a tension headache going on, maybe a little too much family time going on right now, spousal time, I don't know. But the thing is that having an occlusal guard, if you have that, wear it, that's going to relieve some of that pressure, that sensation, and the discomfort that you're having. Because when you start having those trigger points and it's more myofascial, meaning your muscles are knotting up, you can actually get knots in your muscles and it can really throw it off and make that hurt. So that's one of the reasons you can be having sensitive teeth. If it's just recent, other things you want to look at is, what if you have gum recession? You know, some people brush really hard. Some people have their bite comes together incorrectly and they're hitting too hard, and it causes the gum to pull down away from the tooth. And that area, which is supposed to be protected, the gum acts kind of like as a jacket if you walk out in the winter time. If you don't have that on there, your tooth is sensitive to cold, to sweets, things like that. And so recession can be causing that sensitivity as well. We really want to be mindful of that. The grinding of the teeth at night we talked about. Another thing that can cause sensitive teeth, for the person who asked that, is if you have a broken tooth or a fractured tooth. Because inside, you got layers of the tooth. There's the outer layer, which is very hard, called the enamel. Then there's a layer underneath, which is not hard, called the dentin. And if a tooth breaks and that dentin layer is exposed, your tooth can be very, very tender as well. Plus the nerve that's underneath there, that nerve becomes very hypersensitive. So if you're having sensitivity, it's always a good idea to contact us so that we can help kind of plot through this and figure out what's the best way to go. In our hygiene department, our hygienists have desensitizers they can place on the tooth Some are like a fluoride varnish. The others are non-fluoride varnish that we can actually help to mitigate that if you have the recession. If you have a broken tooth, we obviously, or fractured tooth, we can take care of that as well. So that's one thing to look out for. So that was a great question. I really do appreciate that. Another question that was asked of me, this was actually sent via text by a patient who didn't get in last time, is why do teeth break so easily? And that's a tough question because it really is age dependent, and it's also, there's a lot of factors here. As we get older, the nerve inside the tooth starts to actually shrink. It calcifies. And many of you may or may not know that the nerve is the blood supply to the tooth, the nourishment for the tooth. So as that gets smaller, it calcifies, that tooth becomes more brittle. So you're able to break it on, and some people break it on biting into bread, you know, or jawbreakers or popcorn, or, you know, that your favorite restaurant that has that great crunchy bread you like. So teeth can break for a number of reasons, but one of the bigger reasons we see is if you've had prior fillings on the tooth. Every time you fill a tooth, it weakens the tooth. And we get to a certain point where there's more filling. It's about 50% of the tooth is filling and 50% of the tooth is the regular tooth. You're going to run a chance of breaking that tooth over time. And that's why we can go and, as I said, the life cycle of a tooth, we talk about it's a virgin tooth, meaning no fillings. Then we talk about the tooth having maybe a simple filling done, a small filling, then a second filling. And then we go to something called an inlay or an onlay, and that just covers the cusps. So some people have sensitivity where they will bite down and it causes extreme sensitivity, and the moment they release the bite, it stops or lingers for a second or two and goes away. That can be a cracked tooth. So when we go to what's called an onlay, where we cover the top part of the tooth, it holds the tooth together and it creates that so the tooth can't flex. And so that will help minimize or completely reduce that sensitivity. In really rare cases, the sensitivity may require a root canal, but we find in our office that's probably less than 0.5%. So I really find that. I see Kelly has logged in. Kelly, can you type in where you're listening from? That's awesome. Oh, she already did it. Whittier, thank you. And there's Medi. Hey, Medi, how are you? Good to have you on here. Medi is with Patterson Dental, and I've known Medi for many, many years. So those are the questions we were talking about. Why do I have bad breath? And we talked about why do teeth break so easily, and the teeth are sensitive, we talked about. And then there's another thing that we've really started looking at in our office that I find actually quite fascinating. And Albert Einstein used to say, he used to say because he's no longer alive, he used to say the eyes can't see what the mind doesn't know. And one of the things that our team does is we do a lot of continuing education. And not only do I teach continuing education, I also take it. And so I love having my tunnel vision being expanded on looking for things. And we started looking at malocclusion. And what that means, that's a $10 word that means that when the teeth don't come together properly. And what are some of the causes or some of the problems? And so when we have Kelly in hygiene, or we have two in hygiene, or Dr. Lena and I, and we have a patient that has crooked teeth, or their bites open, or have recession areas, you know, and we can start looking at that, we start noticing that they're having more chipping or cracking or breaking, all the INGs of the teeth. And so we started looking at what can we do to help these patients? And we started looking very seriously in doing clear aligners. An example of a clear aligner is something called Invisalign. That's kind of like everybody has tissue, but they call it Kleenex. Invisalign started this. They've been around for many, many years. I think they've completed 6 million cases. And we noticed that by correcting the malocclusion, if teeth are rotated, if they're out of the proper alignment, we try to bring them into proper alignment, that they have less periodontal issues. It's easier for them to clean. We see a mitigation or stopping of the recession. And it also helps us to just take better oral health care of our patients. So I really am very fascinated by doing that. Stephanie, you're listening from Long Beach. Good to have you, Stephanie. I hope you're doing well. If there are any questions you guys have, type them in. I just wanted to kind of go over and answer any questions you might have. Kelly, if you have any, or Medi, if you have any for your twins, wonderful children. I think they're 6 or 7 now. I think they're 6. And I'd like to hear more from you. So the nice thing about what we try to do is, I've also heard another thing. Let me go back a little bit. I heard some offices, we'll have a patient come in and go, well, I went to this dentist and I got this opinion. I went to this dentist and I got that opinion. And again, what I just said a few minutes ago is based on the training that the team has. You could have 10 different dentists in a room and get 6 different opinions or 7 different opinions on what's the right way to treat this based on their exposure. Remember, the eyes can't see what the mind doesn't know. And so I really think it's important that you have a comprehensive evaluation done with whatever office you go to. Hopefully it's ours. We really want to have you there for that. How long does it take to get an onlay? Well, that's a great question. Going back to that, when we're going to go into it, we're very fortunate in our office that we have the technology. We're a heavy technology office where we can do that in one appointment, and that appointment normally takes about 2 hours and from start to finish. And the beautiful thing about that is you don't have to get a babysitter a second time. You don't have to take time off from work, a second time. We get it finished from A to Z for you, and it's just a better all-around product. So that's from the time we really call this butt in the chair to butt out of the chair. I know that's not professional, but the total time is 2 hours or less. In many cases, it's far less time. And you don't have a second appointment. You don't have that janky temporary that can come off. It always comes off at the most inappropriate time at the kids' soccer game or an important business meeting that you might have. And so we do everything to make things better for our patients. We want it to be efficient. We want it to be simple, and we want it to be repeatable, and we want to have a very high standard of what we're doing on that. So I hope that answered your question there. That was a great question. And so are there any more questions we might have here for today? If not, I'm going to probably close this thing up and say, take care of yourself. One last thing I do want to go over, and I want to address this next time a little bit more, is as we're sheltered in place, I think it's very important. A lot of us are eating a lot. We're exercising, hopefully, but it's important to take care of not only your physical health, but your mental health. And just a couple simple things: getting out and taking a walk every day, the sunshine, the vitamin D is so important for you mentally, and that fresh air is so incredibly important as well. And you can social distance and do this, but it's really important to also physically work out. And when you work out, it can be a minor workout, 15 minutes a day, and you get those endorphins going. That is also going to help you mentally as well. So they kind of go hand in hand. They're a combination. You shouldn't do one without the other, or you could, but you're going to get that exponential benefit by taking care of yourself physically and mentally. So with that, I'm going to say to you goodbye. Thank you for listening. If you could do me one more favor, if you could share this with your family and friends on Facebook, it would mean so much to me, because this way we reach more people, and we're trying to help as many of our community as possible. And again, if you would share this when we're done, I'd be very grateful. So thank you guys. Happy Thursday, and thanks for listening to Talk Thursday.